I'm John. Thank you for joining us on the Resistance broadcast. We are so excited for another round of Skeleton Crew, and we're here to talk all about episode 4. Can't say I remember no at Attin, and SM33 is a shining star of the episode, as well as Neil. A lot of character growth in this one. But with me, as always, is Lacey. How we doing, Lacey?
Good. How are you guys? I sound and feel much better. I know no
Good.
one asked, but I'm letting you know.
100% back, all the way back.
Yes, almost.
Our guest this week, welcome back to the base. No big introduction needed. From Star Wars Explained, it's Alex and Mollie. What's going on, guys?
Hello.
Now Mollie's the one that's sounding different.
Yeah, I'm getting over a cold.
No. It never ends.
Well, thank you both for taking the time to join us today. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you go back and check out their show. I know you guys just came out of your live stream, so do we get to see your drawings, or do we have to exclusively go to your show to see those?
I got mine right here. I'll pop it up.
I have not erased mine yet.
Talk of the town lately.
I'll go in front of Mollie because
Alex, you better go first.
Yeah, we know how that goes. So I did Neil watching the new Love of His Life backflip away.
Oh, that's excellent.
For Rock.
I love that.
Mine was not quite the same effort of masterpiece as it has been, but I had to draw Neil standing up to SM33.
Wow.
That is excellent. You even got the background going. You got
Yeah.
I know.
the whole
Like she
scene.
did the whole scene and like, it's not as good as last time.
Awesome stuff. You guys have a good time talking. You were with Jordan Mason, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was
Yeah.
good.
Excellent.
Because I really, really liked this episode. So
I did too. So we're going to get to it in a minute with our scores because they're all over the place, which is very cool. But first, we don't want to thank everybody who's joining us live. If you are in the live chat, we're going to feature your comments on the screen. If you submit super chats, we will read them on the show, talk about them, get them into the conversation here. Or if you're just sitting and watching or listening on your favorite podcast app, thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it very, very much. So let's get after this thing. So this is episode 4 of Skeleton Crew, directed by the Daniels, written by Chris Ford and John Watts. The last episode they'll be writing before a 2-episode break, and then they come back to write the final 2. So we'll see what next week brings for us, and we'll speculate on that later. But let's get into rating this episode. I do know, Lacey, we have a few super chats. Maybe we'll get to those and then give our scores.
Sure. So first up, we have David Ford. Thank you so much for the super chat, David. And he said, recruits thrown into the grinder with only hours of training brings the Jude Law film Enemy at the Gates and Putin Storm Z tactics to mind. I mean, yeah, that was pretty crazy. They're like, you kids got this.
Saving Private Ryan vibes for some of the scenes, for sure.
yeah, I definitely felt like what General Strix was just using. A bunch of kids landed here that aren't my kids, so we'll just put you in the front.
Got our new front line.
Yeah.
A meat shields, if you will. Jared is up. Thank you so much for the super chat. He said, what Power Ranger would each member of the team be? I'm assuming. I have no idea. I'm not a big Power Ranger. Like, I watched Power Rangers when I was in kindergarten. Not that that's not valid now. I'm just saying I haven't watched it in a long time.
Jared asked us a similar question to give him all the starter Pokemon, and I actually had fun with it. Now I'm like, okay,
nice.
I think
what were the Pokemon?
Fern got Charmander. Mollie?
Fern was Charmander. Wim was
Pikachu. Neil was Squirtle. KB Bulbasaur, I think.
That makes sense. The valid choices.
I was proud of Pikachu because in the anime, I think Ash oversleeps and doesn't get to be there to choose his starting Pokemon. So that just feels like what Win would do. Oversleep, Mr. Big Day. Now you have Pikachu.
I like that logic.
I think Fern would be the Red Ranger, kind of the leader, tougher one.
Wasn't the Blue Ranger like the smarty pants one that could be KB?
Yeah.
And then Neil's the Pink Ranger, obviously.
Who did you say?
Neil.
He's the Pink Ranger. Neil.
Yeah.
He's just so adorable. And he could do little poses like she does.
Yeah.
I don't remember the personalities of the other ones well enough.
I don't know.
I
I just know
Wim
Amy
is-
Jo Johnson was the pink one
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that was my
Wim is like
favorite.
this little rebellious kid, so I think he would be like the Green Ranger who was sort of like doing his own thing.
Oh yeah, Tommy.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that actually does make sense. And then Jod can be Bulk and Skull.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. I think like the only parts of that show that weren't filmed like 40 years before it came out. were,
Yeah.
like, anything that happened in like the lunchroom or whatever. But we're not here to talk about Power Rangers. We're here to talk about Star Wars, and we got
We
Michael
are
up next.
not. Michael's up. What up, man? He said, Merry Christmas to the entire TRB community. Enjoy the holiday season with your loved ones. Debbie and I are looking forward to having our family home for the holidays this year. May the
Nice,
force be
man.
with you. That's so awesome.
All right,
Oh.
buddy.
Happy holidays to you and Debbie. Their kids
you.
have like all the Star Wars stuff in their house. It's really cute.
Oh, cute.
And really nice.
Very
And last but not least is Christy. What up, Christy? Says, Happy holidays, you Goonies. Thanks for the super chat. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, John. Your kids playing Galactic Goonies on your podcast gear again.
They could be. Is it still low?
Sounds a little better now.
All right. I'll just stay as
Yeah,
close
yeah.
as I can. Sorry about that. All right. Let's rate this thing. Let's break out the Neels scale and see where we're at. The first 3 episodes have been rated really well so far between us and the TRB community. Yo, HoloNet Marauders, what is up? I don't know if we're supposed to reveal anything, but we're going to be hanging out with them pretty soon. So
Mm-hmm.
good to see you guys. All right, let's get into it. We're going to kick things off with the scale 0 to 10, episode 4. Alex drew the short straw, so he's going first. Alex, what did you rate episode 4 on the Neil scale?
I gave it 8.5 Neil heads out of 10.
All right. That's a
I
lot of
really
Neils.
liked it.
All right. Favorite episode so far?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
I don't know. I have been saying, like, I do think any new show at all takes me a little bit to just get into fully understanding what it is and who the characters are. And the first 3 episodes were really fun, full of action, but never really had a chance to let the kids stop and like start to be friends and get to know one another. So the episodes the scenes between like Wim and Fern, or even Wim giving KB a little high five, just like little moments like that, I really loved.
I'm
But
with you.
then it also was moving the plot forward, lots of character development, new questions, new problems, old problems solved. Like just it still did a lot that I liked.
I'm with you. I agree. Lacey, you're up. What'd you give episode
Oh.
4?
I hate following that. So I'm gonna be honest. I rewatched the episode right before this, so I might have gone up a little from the score. So I'll give it that. However, I did give it a 6.5 out of 10 meals. So
That's not bad. You act like you gave it a 4.
I know, but if anything under a 5 on this show is like people get mad, and I want everybody to take a second. Knowing what you know about me, this is not the episode for me, and that's fine. I think it unravels a lot of the mystery, and I think it's one of those episodes I'm going to appreciate once the series is completed and I can watch everything at once. But just getting this little segment, it just left me kind of like, I don't know, it wasn't for me. But there were a lot of shining moments. I loved the reveal of Jod when the 2 tribes are exchanging Eopies. I thought that was such a good moment. I loved the beginning about how he's the adult and like stay with the ship type stuff. That was hilarious. Basically anything Jude Law was just really good per usual. He's just so fabulous, and the ending has me thinking a lot. Like, what does that mean? But overall, I would say it's not my favorite episode. It's not bad. It's just, it's good. I'd
It's
give
a
it 6.5 or a 7. Or
Yeah.
7. I'd go up to a 7.
All right, 6.5. 6.5. Good.
6.5 because that's what we calculated, but I'm actually sitting at a 7 now because I just rewatched it.
But an hour from now, it'll be a 10.
Eh.
All right, Molly, you're up next. Follow that.
So I gave this one a 7 because it wasn't my favorite of the bunch so far. I really liked it a lot. I feel like when I rate things 0 out of 10, I have a hard time committing to like good or bad. I kind of like stick in the middle. But I think for me, the way to get that rating up is to take these kids to a place where they can have a little more fun together. this one was like a little bit, more serious. I loved all of the Neel stuff. Neel finding his courage was really cute. Getting a little smooch on the cheek was adorable. And there was some great acting going on in this episode. Fern really got to shine with her acting chops in this one. So there's a lot to love in this one. It's just that one bit of like, I want to see all these kids having some fun together
Right.
that could have pushed the number up a little for me.
Nice. I dig that. All right. I'm going to round it out with an 8. I really liked that they sort of hit the brakes a little bit, and where we lost in the adventure and the fun and the nooks and crannies and creatures and all that adventure type stuff, we got in character building and relationship building. And I think while this episode will never be somebody's, hey, watch this and this is why I love Star Wars type of episode, I think it is, like Lacey, you were saying before, it's going to serve the rest of the show better because we're going to have time to see, to like, we're vested in the relationships a bit more now, at least I am. So 8 for me. I think that's a really good score. And out of the 4 of us, that averages us out to a 7.5 on the Neels scale. There he is. And I don't know why. Every time we bring up the Neel image, I see him and I think of like PS1 controllers or something. I can't
Yeah.
It does.
Right? I don't know why.
It kind of an N64 vibe with the trunk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can have
True.
the ears or the trunk in the.
True. Playing GoldenEye, just grab the trunk. Yep.
You're gonna grab him by the trunk like what's her name did?
Hannah.
Hannah did.
We did get more Neel trunk noises in this one. He was wheezing from the smoke, so I thought that was fun. So good score from us. We checked in with our TRB patrons, and they were a little more in love with this episode. They gave this an 8.1, so a little more Neels for you. But there
I always
is.
appreciate that. I'm like, just a little of the year, just a little bit.
There's the 0.1.
It's just a
of Neels.
guesstimation. It's like,
It's somewhere in there.
Do you move the cursor over and you're like, yep, there we go. All right, so 8.1 from them. Let's get to a couple of their comments. Kendall Gellner said, 8 Neels, a trunk full of fun. Love the idea of finding a planet just like what they left, but fallen into ruin when outsiders found it. Also a real sense of danger at the end. Loved seeing so much of Neel. And then the Drum Jedi Mike Ramori said, I gave it 7.5 Neels, so he's running the money with our scores. These kids are great and loved seeing Neel do the little flirting and getting a kiss on the trunk. Our little boy's all grown up. And Mike, I think that was a Swingers reference you put in there from Jon Favreau. Nicely done. All right, so good scores to get things going here. Before we get into talking about the episode, we do have to ask the next trivia question in our season-long treasure hunt. So if you are just tuning in to the Galactic Goonies for the first time, we give you the Galactic Goonies Treasure Hunt, a season-long giveaway contest. What happens is each week I'll ask a trivia question. Having all of the answers will be important by season's end, but ye be warned, do not share your answers with any other pirate or they'll snipe you at the first chance they get.
can you read it with a little more pirate, please?
Okay.
Ye be warned.
Do you want me
that
to play that Shire music? Would that help?
Yes. Ye be warned, fella. All right. Ye be warned. Don't share
Thank
your
you.
answers
Thank
with
you.
any other pirate or they'll snipe you at the first chance they get. Better?
Yeah, it was getting a little Irish towards the end there.
Sorry. That's Alex's fault, not mine. All right, so keep track of all the answers each week. On the final episode of Galactic Goonies on January 15th, I'll reveal how to submit for a shot to win the Galactic Goonies treasure, which includes the grand prize Lego Star Wars Skeleton Crew Onyx Cinder spaceship, TRB merch for Galactic Goonies, and more. The third question, and Alex, but don't this is, come on.
Don't shout it out.
Yeah, because this is hard stuff.
Control yourself, Alex.
Molly,
Ye
I know
be
can-
warned, Alex.
Molly,
Ye
knows,
be
Molly
warned.
can hit the self-mute button. Alex, he wants to answer that.
I gotta. Everyone needs to know that I know.
The third question is, what is the Mandalorian, a.k.a. Mando's, real name? Not the actor, the character. Tough one. I'm telling you. Tough stuff.
Calm down, Hermione Granger.
Yeah. By the way, I think it was last week we had Alex from Children of the Watch on, and I gave out the question. And I know Molly, you and I have talked about it. I'm just so relieved I don't have to know all this stuff anymore. And I
Yeah.
didn't even know it that well back then. But
Yeah. It's still rattling around in there, but most of it's been lost.
because of the rat that's chewing the
Yeah.
memories of
Yeah.
Snowdown.
We put it in there voluntarily, though.
Yeah.
Take this knowledge out of me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, good luck, everybody. Make sure you keep your answers and hang on to all of them each week. And we'll see who becomes the victor by season's end. Who's the best pirate in the audience? All right, let us talk about this episode. We like to start things off by maybe getting into what was your favorite moment or line or shot or something that stood out to you. I'll start things off. And I think my favorite moment, it was a toss-up between two. Lacey, I'm with you. It was like Jude Law heavy for me. The one I'll go with is when he decided to take the kids over anything else. And he's specifically how he said it. He said, those four, the little ones. And they came over to him, and even Fern opened up to him a bit. And Neil hugged him, but then he pulled in Wim for a hug, and he didn't have to do that. And the music swelled. Mick Giacchino like did that whole Lost thing where the Giacchinos kick you in the chest with emotional music. And that whole moment
He also
really...
pulled a dad moment where he's like, I'll take the hides. Or like, how good are the hides? I was like, oh my God. As soon as he got that hug, it like activated dad in him.
Yeah,
He was like,
and he has to explain that he's kidding.
Yeah.
Anytime I do that to my son, I'm like, you're sleeping outside tonight. He's like, wait, I am? I'm like, no, you're not sleeping outside tonight.
Or the stab in the back. They're going to stab us? Oh, no.
Stab us? But yeah, so that's my favorite moment. Molly, did you have a favorite line, shot, or moment from this episode?
It's got to be the one that I drew. I think when Neil decides to throw the rock to SM-33, he finally like builds up enough courage to stand up for him and his friends at the end. It's really cute.
Love it. Lacey, how about you?
I am going to go with the moment that made me, I think, laugh. One of the hardest laughs I've done with Star Wars, which is when the Attin, I think they're called, tribe shows up, and Jude Law just goes, just shoot me. Just shoot.
Another good dad moment.
It is one of the funniest lines I have ever heard in Star Wars, and he delivers it so just shoot me. And I was like, this is so good. I had to rewatch it. I went back and watched it twice. I was like cackling. I might say that this might be the funniest Star Wars we've had. Like, honestly, there are more funny moments in this series so far, specifically with Jude Law. He's like so good at comedic timing that like it makes it so enjoyable. And I think while this episode wasn't my favorite, it did so well on breaking up the serious beats with moments like that, where the kids are being trained in a war and they're about to die, and Jude's like, just kill me. I don't, whatever. I've been
like
through
Jar
enough.
Jar. I give up. I give up.
It's so good. It was so good.
Alex, what about you? Favorite moment, shot, line, anything that jumped out at you?
I'll also go with the moment I drew, and just Neil and Hannah and him asking, like, just come with us. Everything with Neil, just him realizing how unfair life is on this planet, but culminating in like, come with us. My house has plenty of space. I was like, you sweet little baby boy. Like, yeah, you have, the house has plenty of room, but like just that he's so willing to just, come live with me. It's easy.
That's totally something a kid would say too. Like, we've got an extra room in our house. It's yours if you want it.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's just so sweet.
He gave up his food too, which was such an Aladdin moment. I was like,
man.
I was basically just trying to think of which Neil moment am I going to pick.
I know.
A lot to choose from, and that's definitely a good one. Like when he like scoots over closer to her, I was like, dude.
Yeah. Little scoot.
Aw. Yeah, and so my second one that I was battling with was, it's a simple one, but it also made me laugh out loud. It's when Jod does the diving save and shuts off SM-33.
That made you laugh?
I don't know why that made me laugh, but Jude Law, 52 years old, just doing like a full horizontal Charlie Hustle dive to hit that button on that droid, and he falls over, and he's like, "Gotta remember to hit the turn off switch." I laughed so hard when he just flew off frame right through across the screen and hit it. I don't know why that made me laugh.
I kind of thought he had tripped or something.
Yeah, right.
That 33 was going to get to Neel. I was scared.
Maybe he was invoking a little bit of that parkour spirit.
Yeah.
Parkour.
What would Hana do?
Yeah.
The other part that made me laugh was the babysitter mode, where he's like activating babysitter mode, and he's like, "Come on, baby." Come on.
That's. I brought this up on our stream, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Does SM33 know how funny he is, or is he being genuine? Like, okay, babysitter mode activated. Come on, baby.
I sense that he's joking. I think he was being like, "Come on, baby, you're such a baby." Like, that's what makes him, I think, a little different than other droids. Is like he is so aware, like too aware.
He's like crazy in a good way, aunt or uncle that you see around the holidays. That they're a little quirky, you know what I mean? And they show up with like the weird gifts, like they're that, like he's that. He's a little tweaked out, but we love him anyway.
Yeah. He's just been around for too long.
Yeah. He's a little musty. I wanted to ask you guys this quick before we just start chatting, because no agenda or anything. We talk about whatever we want, but do you guys think, Lacey, you might have brought this up, so I'm not trying to steal your thunder, but that little rat, do you think there's a sentient motive for him to eat away at his circuits, or do you think it's just circumstance? Because the only reason why I ask this is because when he first does the whole, I don't remember Attin, like the rat pops out and like looks at Jod and then goes back in, and I could just be complete, circumstance, coincidence that that's happening, but I don't know if you guys think there's anything to it.
Maybe the spirit of the captain is in the rat. It's trapped in the rat.
You just say, "John, that's so stupid," instead.
I don't think it's stupid. It wouldn't surprise me if it ended up that the rat like talks and everything. It was like a Peter Pettigrew situation where it's an actual person and has a brain. Currently, right now, I have no reasons to think that. I just think it popped out because his brain starts like steaming like a Looney Tune. Like he starts having steam. So I think he was like, it's hot in here, or oh, something's happening.
Yeah, I like that.
But I loved the puppetry work where it was like,
Yeah.
I agree. I think that the rat is more to remind the audience that like the rat ate his brain, which isn't I love that we find out that's not the reason he doesn't know Attin, but
right.
I think it was just supposed to pop out to be like, oh yeah, this is the reason he has memory problems. And like Amaranth says, it is interesting that he has a name. Like
Snowball.
The rat is named in the databank. So maybe, John, maybe you're right. There's more to Snowball than we currently know.
Like Usual Suspects at the end, Snowball lights up a cigarette. And
it was also a little bit of a it also was a little bit of a jump scare in that moment. Like it had a little bit of a moment like, and then it like brings it back. So maybe it was just like a writing beat too. I don't know.
So what is the deal with this planet? Clearly it's a snapshot of what could be for Attin's future. They are seeing all these it's almost like these planets were designed like a housing community where all the houses look the same and stuff like that. So what is at Akron, and why is it the way it is?
So we on our stream kind of settled on the idea that maybe all of the Jewels of the Old Republic are like gated communities. Where,
or like it's one big gated community almost.
Yeah. Where well, like each of them is their own neighborhood. Like come live at Akron, one of the Jewels of the Old Republic. And I kind of love the idea that we hear Jewels of the Old Republic and so do pirates, and they're like, oh, treasure. But it might just be Old Republic propaganda of like, check out these new neighborhoods we made. And they're really just suburban places. I do think Attin probably has treasure with all the money and everything, but basically, we think that they're kind of these gated communities, and there's probably something nefarious, and we only see humans, Rhodians, Vizuans, and Ithorians and Neel species on all these planets. So it's like maybe they were like, these are the best species and they're the only ones allowed to live here. So like that's kind of the avenue we went down.
I remember, Lacey, you brought up the idea that Attin was kind of like the bank planet or like the treasury planet. So yeah, maybe Akron was in charge of like something else. Maybe they were like farming, or they have Eopies, so it could be more of an agriculture situation for at Akron. So yeah, I don't know. I think they were in charge of something else, but clearly they got the short end of the stick, and something didn't work out over there. But I was trying to find like things on this planet that were different, and they had that statue, and I don't know that
The
Attin has
dude,
a statue like that, which we don't know who that was. I don't know if we'll find out, but it was interesting that that was something kind of different.
King No
Yeah,
Head.
King No Head.
No Head,
Could
yeah.
it be the supervisor, and that's why they're kind of hiding it? Which the supervisor is a big question mark for me in general of like, does the supervisor even exist? Because I'm getting several other different series stories references that I'm sure aren't on purpose, maybe are on purpose, but I don't think they are. They're just coincidence. But it feels very much like Fallout, where you have the different vaults and one's doing really well that's kind of like stuck in its own time, and then they find out other ones are not doing so well and they're like little communities. Or like Lost, where they're realizing there's like different like hideaway, what's the word I'm looking for? Hatches. Thank you. Oh my god, I knew it started with an H. Hatches that people are living in, that was like a bigger experiment, or what's going on. Those are and I'm only saying those things not because I'm super smart, but because I literally just watched both of those things in the past year, so they're like fresh in my brain to pull from. But like yeah, there's just something going on, and it was so, they made it very obvious. They've done very well in the show of being like, hey, remember this thing, don't forget about it, which was the big gun. Like, she made it very clear, like, hey, let me show you this big gun. And then they zoom in on how to open it up with Neel. And I'm like, so Neel's going to open this big gun at some point on another planet or on his own planet. That gun's coming out, and Neel's going to be the one that's like, I know this. Yeah, it's just so weird. It's all so weird. And then the fact that they have that, tower with all the different coordinates on it, which we'll get to the SM-33 stuff. But yeah, this planet is just so weird. But I knew the moment they landed in that like creepy playground was like deserted, like every dystopian nuclear war movie series.
T2.
I was like, this isn't right. This is not correct. They're not in the right place. And then not only that, they hint it at the beginning when they're flying into the planet, and there's like that green kind of shield gas stuff, but then all the things that I think keep it in place are broken. Like all the floating things in space. Yeah, it's weird. It was very weird. And then it made me think, like, what would I do if like I ended up on Earth that like wasn't Earth? I'd be like severely creeped out.
So you were thinking of like Fallout and Lost, and I immediately went to Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
Which I was like, is this like the old Attin? And it got messed up, so they just picked up and moved over.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's
renamed
cool.
It something else.
Yeah, no, that's a cool reference too. Yeah, there's just so many possibilities. So it's funny because the last episode was very like fantastical. I had the owl. It was very kind of like Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, that kind of thing. And now we're getting into more of the science fiction side, it feels like, of Star Wars, where it was very technical and specific. And maybe that's why I wasn't the biggest fan of this one, but I was a huge fan of the last one, because if we're picking sides on Star Wars, I like the more fantasy stuff than science fiction. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
When they first got there and they thought it was Attin and Jod, I liked that Jod was freaking out about the autopilot to show us like he's not none the wiser. But when they opened the ramp and they stepped out, my first fear was that they traveled in some sort of time like wormhole or something, and they showed up on Attin either in the future or in the future, like, because I thought there's shades of the show that remind me of like Flight of the Navigator. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie.
Yeah.
But he like goes 12 years in the future, and his little brother's older than him, and he doesn't know what's going on. And I was like, I hope they're not doing that. And then they expanded upon it that it's not that planet. But I have one wild theory that's probably wrong, but let's toss it out there. They keep mentioning the supervisor, and we're learning more and more about this captain. of the Onyx Cinder, and we don't know who either of those people are. So I can't help for low-hanging fruit to think it's possible this captain could be the supervisor of Attin. And I only say that because when I think back to where the ship was, it doesn't look like a ship. Like I can't picture a ship crashing that way and be deep within with the door perfectly facing accessible. It's almost like it was purposely buried there. And why were the coordinates destroyed to that planet? It's like maybe this guy knew that that was the place that had all the credits, and that's why he said, not only does my whole crew die if they also see it, but I'm going to program my droid to not talk about it, but if anyone pokes around, to kill them. And it's like he left him in the ship just in case anybody stumbled upon it. The droid will kill those people. It's almost like one of those, like, just erase all receipts. It's probably wrong, but I feel like there's got to be some sort of obvious connection between those two people.
You think the captain and the supervisor are the same person?
I think it's possible. Yeah.
Interesting.
I like that theory because I do like the connection of that's why the ship is buried in that way. I would just wonder like how he became supervisor because I guess we don't know when they crashed, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's interesting that a lot of people are guessing that the supervisor could be like a droid or an artificial intelligence or something. So if he figured out that like Ad Akron's supervisor was a droid and he's like, I'll just go to Ad Attin and I can unplug the droid or intelligence or whatever, and then I'll be
because
the
he went up to the
supervisor.
tower anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
because he went up to the top to erase the coordinates. So if the droid supervisor was there, yeah.
And then as long as he's a long-lived species, then he can just sit there and rake in the money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, Molly, I don't know if it was you who posted a screenshot from some of the unseen footage that looks like the top of the supervisor tower, which mirrors the tower they were in. You posted that, right?
Yeah, it's off one of the videos that they put on their YouTube of like some behind the scenes stuff with
That's
the
a good
directors.
catch, though. So it's obvious we're going to the top of whatever that is by the end of the show. I know there's also a scene where Jod is yelling at the kids about someone's coming here, and they look inside their like they're in a fancy room. So I don't know if they're in there and someone knows they're there and coming, sort of like Rogue One with the Citadel Tower. But I'm just so perplexed as to where this is going to go because I'm still not nervous, but wondering if we're going to get like a Mando cameo and have like one of those episodes because like we said, the next two episodes are the only two not written by Chris Ford and John Watts. So I don't know how much we're going to get from this out of the next two episodes about this whole thing. I also don't want to theorize too much because it's possible this show is very, straightforward and streamlined, like kids' adventure.
Yeah.
Did someone say their favorite episode was 5 or 6?
Oh, like one of the cast members?
Yeah. Didn't they
A
talk
lot of them
about
said
that?
the finale, I think.
The finale. Usually people say that though. People always say the finale.
Yeah. I forget which one Bryce Dallas Howard directed. It might have been 6. Yeah.
Oh, 6. Okay, cool. I would
I'm
not be
excited for that
surprised
one.
if Mando shows up in that one.
I think the next one, maybe not the next two, but the next one might swap to the parents' perspective and show a little bit of what's going on with Wendell and Fern's mom. Because I am excited to see how they're handling this and what's going on their side of things. But I will miss the kids.
I don't want it to be a full episode of just the parents.
Yeah.
But a check-in would be good.
But maybe the kids are on the ship and KB is like trying to repair SM-33 or something.
Yeah, because there's a lot of clips and trailers and like other TV spots and whatnot of the parents talking to each other in like a meeting room. So at some point they're definitely conversing or talking about what's going to happen or where do we go from here. And that shot of Wendell in the last episode where it definitely pushes in on him and you see that realization of like, I'm going to have to do something myself. Yeah, that I agree with you, Molly. I can't wait to see what's going on because as a parent, I would like lose my mind if my child was on a spaceship and they were like, yeah, you can't do anything. So they're just gone now. You're like, what? I'm sorry. Hello? What?
Yeah. I forget where it was. We were at one of the celebrations where they showed footage for the first time. And
London?
was that London? That there was a lot of footage of the parents.
Mhm.
Like it was much more focused on them, and maybe that was because they didn't have any of Neel's scenes ready to go VFX
Probably, yeah.
wise, but it was interesting that I just remember so much more from the adults.
Yeah, I think we have to check in with them for sure, and I do think that Wim's dad is sort of going to be like that parent that goes to the town hall meeting where everyone's gathering and like sort of like pounds his fist saying like, no, we got to save our kids or something like that, and like be like that rogue dad. So I agree with that. But I don't want to get like I don't want to completely go away from the kids for a full episode. So I hope you're right, Alex, in that it's sort of like a hybrid, sort of like let's check in with them just to get an established progression of where they're at and get back to the kids, because the series is cooking. Like we're halfway through already.
Yeah.
And 30
These
to
8-episode
35
seasons,
minutes.
man.
Before we know it, it's going to be over, and they have a lot of loose ends to tie up. And I think they talked about having ideas about a second season that will take place a few years later. But you got to imagine this story has to wrap up because there's no guarantee of a second season. Like the Acolyte stuff. A lot of that stuff was left open ended with Plagueis and the Stranger and all that. But who knows how they're going to continue that. I think with this show, because it's so stylized in that 80s coming of age, you got to have the happy ending at the end of this in case this is it. So
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do for these next 4, but I think it was important this episode was what it was because of needing to push the lever forward in getting these relationships earned. And like you brought up, Alex, about Wim and Fern, I think that was Molly, you brought up her acting. Like I thought she was the one I wanted to see the most out of after the first 3 episodes. I felt like the other 3 have been doing a great job, but she was a little stiff. And then in this one, we understand why. It's because she was trying to put on this facade that she's this leader this whole time, and it got to her. And I loved every bit of the vulnerability of it because it's a reminder that she's a kid. She's not all knowing. She's just making this up as she goes along. And you got little Wim there who's almost just as sweet as Neel. He noticed that she walks off, and he has the wherewithal at such a young age to be like, I got to go check on her. And he just says,
Well,
like, "You're the
Jude tells him
best."
to. He's like, you got this.
Yeah, but he even saw before he went over. He like looked.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, she's not okay.
Yeah. And she, like, Fern says something about, like, oh, you should have been captain. And Wim is, sweet enough to be like, we wouldn't have gotten this
Yeah.
far if I were
And he's probably
captain.
He's like, are you kidding me? We'd be dead.
He knows he's an idiot.
We'd be dead. Which is such a growth from his character because, like, the first episode, they're both like, I want to be captain. No, I'm captain. No, Neel's driving. No, I'm driving.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that.
And then even we see KB humanizing herself a little more. She's been a little robotic and closed off, and now she's learning high fives and stuff, and obviously all the Neel stuff. So it's like, and then on top of it, Jod. To me, I don't see there's any way where he can do a full betrayal of these kids at this point because it would just turn the show upside down for me. I know that they like to do that stuff. I hope it's sort of like he's towing both lines. How do I get the treasure, but also I want to protect the kids at this point? A New Hope Han Solo thing. He wants his reward, but I got to go back and save that kid.
It's very Long John Silver. Like,
just
he really genuinely does like William. I can't remember if that's the kid's name in Treasure Island Planet, but he likes the kid, but he is a pirate and he is after the treasure and he's trying to keep this secret. So they still don't know he's a pirate. So I think that will come into play at some point.
That'll be like the betrayal, kind of,
Yeah.
that them finding out that he is an actual pirate / what he's done to his past
we got to
crews.
find out too. Like, what has he done as Crimson Jack? And because I don't know if you guys have been speculating about that character, but like, there's something going on with force sensitivity with him, and we haven't seen him manipulate sentient beings yet. We've only seen him, use it against inanimate objects. But there's so much mystery to him that with so much going on in the show with Attin and stuff like that, I keep forgetting to question him.
Yeah, he hasn't used the Force anymore, and we haven't had any real talk about Jedi. Like, Wim is still pretending to fight with a lightsaber at any chance that he gets, but I am curious if we'll get back to any talk of Jedi or the Force anytime soon.
It is funny, if I were a kid that saw that, I would be asking him to make everything float.
I have a million questions.
That is true. He didn't use it in this episode at all from what we saw. Do you guys think there was more to
He could have
okay.
mind tricked
Yeah,
those
yeah.
other warriors. Like all of them.
I was gonna say, do you think there was more to that than here's a few shekels and we'll take these Ethiopian off them?
All
Alex
of that
does.
felt
I don't know
very-
if I think.
all of that just felt very convenient to me. That if he's like, just shoot me, and then the next time we see him,
he's rolling
like,
up by himself. Yeah.
right. And I can see him maybe like struggling to mind trick them and being like, well, maybe I have to like bribe them, be like, here, you want to take these credits and leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
That actually makes a lot of sense. And I'll go with that as my headcanon now. I
And
like
he's
that.
like, but you don't want the credits, and you give them back to me.
Yeah.
I just saw Brian's message.
What did Brian say?
We still need to know why Crimson Jack is so important. I made my video about him. There's not much to say.
Michelle makes a great point that she says it's interesting that whenever Jod is doing things, it's off screen and we don't see it. They're doing that for a reason.
Mhm.
Yeah, true. They don't show
Yeah.
things. They're
A
keeping
lot of
secrets.
what he's doing, I feel like, is kind of a facade. I think he does care about these kids, but it's real wishy-washy. You know, mostly his eye is on the prize of the treasure, and he's just kind of like, about the kids. Like, he'll let them know that there's food there, but he's not going to give it to them or serve them or help them.
Right.
Yeah, like he gets that Neil from Hug and he pulls women, but I still think a lot of that is an act to win the kids over. I still think at this moment he's still more concerned about the treasure.
I agree. I don't think he gave away the credits. And we have someone in the chat also saying that. I think that he said that very quickly that he gave them away. And then he stands there facing the camera and the kids are behind him. And Wim's like, you gave away my datteries? And he just like pauses and he's like, yep, yes, I did. And it's just like, to me, I was like, well, why did they say it that way? Why wasn't he like, yeah, I did. I gave it away. Yeah, whatever. It just seemed very like the exchange was awkward.
Yeah, there's
Like,
I don't know
gave
what.
it away, and he's like, yep. Mm-hmm.
So
And he,
now
like,
the
something
kids,
fishy
now the
about all that.
the kids have the excuse of like, oh, well, he had to use the Republic credits to trade for the Yopis to save us.
but he's going to come up with them eventually at some point, and they're going to be like, wait a second, you lied to us, and then
He's
the
gonna
lies
be
are just going to
sleeping,
pile up.
and they're gonna find him in his like, pocket or something like that. Like,
I guess we'll
Thank
see. So what do
God.
you guys think about SM-33 then?
Just that scene where he kind of lost his marbles.
Rip
I
you from
loved
one's limb or
Tim
whatever it
from
was.
limb.
I loved that reveal so much. And it took me until well after we watched the episode to put together the fact that he was literally telling them, can't say I remember anything about Attin. Like, he was literally like, I can't say.
Yes.
And I was like,
yeah.
oh, duh.
I thought all of that was just fantastic writing because it sounds like such a piratey thing. Oh, can't say I've ever heard of that. That's what you're
Mhm.
thinking. But over and over, he's like, no, seriously, I can't tell you. But then to couple that with Fern knowing like, oh yeah, I memory override my mom's droid all the time. Like, let me just
Mhm.
try that. I thought all that was
So-
great.
We're in the Mandoverse. We've seen Anzellans all over the place. Just get one of those guys, hook him up to the back of his brain, and pull a little. The droid is ready, and we'll get all the information we need. from that guy.
ready.
Yeah, why not? Also, Molly, you sound fine, but with the cold voice, did you try any of that limb from limb
Ooh.
quotes? from Walk Around the House?
Not yet, but I should try that.
Just late at night tonight, Alex is
Just
sleeping.
scare me and
just,
chase me.
limb from limb. I would do that. I don't know.
There was something that came up in our stream. I think Jordan Mazon brought it up, but the idea of if they can't really fix SM-33 from like trying to tear them apart, what if KB just finds a way to take his head off, and they just carry his head around, and they get the
That was-
information from just that.
Someone in our comments brought that up and
Oh, okay.
mentioned a character from Monkey Island, which I think
Yes.
Christopher Ford or John Watts or both of them said that video game inspired them. So I'm like, all right, they might just pop his head off and walk
and he'll
around.
tell them where to go. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
so
but that would-
funny.
But
That's
like so much of that character is his walk and his peg leg and his everything.
I don't
Like,
think it would be permanent.
but
they
you can't throw him in a
Yeah.
backpack like you can a head.
Yeah. They haven't shown him much, except for Port Borgo. They haven't really shown him much walking around on the planets that the other characters are going to. So maybe to keep the effect of the practicalness of him, maybe they don't want to use too much CGI like they did with him in Port Borgo and just have the kids hold the head.
I mean, it's
His head is
C-3PO
everywhere.
in
It's all over the
Empire.
bandana. Yeah, it's
True.
It's all over their marketing. Like Tom pointed out in the chat, like it's always the head. I mean, the head's in our logo.
Like,
John, are we better than we think we are with this logo?
Are we brilliant?
Are we really smart?
well, I mean, you can picture Neil. What the baby Bjorns? I forgot all this stuff, but like he could have like Neil with his little Oshkosh bagosh and then a little Bjorn and put the head in there.
That'd be cute.
You guys might be onto
Perfect.
something. Or whoever was in your chat before.
Yeah.
That is creepy. Walking around with a head, and it would. I feel like Jod would love that though, because he clearly doesn't like droids. So like to be able to be like, haha, I'm who's the babysitter now?
Yeah,
they're
he'll
gonna
be
end up-
talking and just shove him in a bag.
They're gonna end up friends though. SM33 and Jod are gonna be like at least like do the "I respect you" handshake at the end of the series type of thing.
Yeah.
Just a little nod.
Yeah, because they're just going at it way too much, and it's funny banter between the two of them. I think it's some of my funnier moments from this show.
Mhm.
But I just feel like all these things are clearly on a path, and I'm not trying to like follow the blueprint of all those coming of age stories, but I think they really are clearly sticking to a loose formula of how this stuff goes, and it ends
Yeah.
with happily ever after to a certain extent. Like, there's a lot more bad stuff happening in Star Wars during this time and after this time, but I don't know. Do you guys actually? How about this? Do you guys think like whatever ends up with Attin, like do these kids end up just back on Attin at home, or do they find new homes with their families? Like that's something I just thought of.
So someone asked us this in our stream towards the end, and I don't know about everybody, but I had the idea that it would be cool if after all this is settled and maybe the people of Attin are allowed to leave, maybe Wim and his father take a little galactic road trip together. Because I think the two of them need it. You know, I don't think Wendell enjoys his job very much. He's lonely, he doesn't have his wife. Obviously, Wim is craving adventure. So I would love to see the two of them go on a little road trip.
I love that. Yeah, because if this whole thing blows up and they, uncover that they're really just working for the machine, so to speak, and his job doesn't matter. Like the parents in these movies always have that epiphany where it's like, I'm too busy to play with you. It's like Liar Liar. He doesn't play with his kid the whole time. Then by the end, he's like, oh my God, I got to play baseball with my son. It's like he's going to have that moment where he's like, no, he's the most important thing to me. Elf, another one. He's telling his kid, I got to pitch this thing.
Yeah.
Like there's always, all those movies always have that. And it's always the dad being like this jerk. But
I mean, Farrah is a pretty big jerk as well. Like where she snaps
True.
at Wim and she's like, here's your
She's very strict.
head of
Yeah.
class badge. And she's like, ugh. And you know that the breakdown that Fern had in this episode is obviously due to the situation, but also due to her mom. There's
Yeah,
no doubt that the baseline of that panic of like making sure she's pleasing everyone, she's meeting expectations is her mom. 100%.
Mhm. Yeah, her mom keeps saying, there's not enough room at the top for everyone. That's like a lot. That's anxiety inducing to tell a child.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
probably why she breaks down when she's like, I can't lead these children around. What am I supposed to do is at the top of a planet?
Mm.
Exactly. Yeah. Just
Yeah,
too much.
I think that at the end, I hope Attin realizes there's more out there, and that hopefully they'll get a starship or two, and they'll be able to come and go as they please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Neil takes some help over to Akron and like helps out
Aw.
the people there.
That would be really
Yeah,
cute.
I hope that's not the last we see of Hana. Because I thought that character was really cool because she learns just as much from Neil as Neil learns from her.
Season 2, there's going to be a big love triangle between Neil and Runa and Hana, and it'll be very dramatic.
Oh, Runa. Runa's gonna meet a different Neil when he comes back. He's gonna have like a leather vest, he's gonna have a mohawk.
It's
like
Samwise
Charlie Sheen.
Gamgee.
Yeah.
He went to Mordor and back. He comes over and he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna go talk to Runa. I have the courage now."
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did appreciate that Hana and her father were seemingly French. They sounded very French in this episode, which is, as Star Wars fans, it's always the Americans are the good guys, the British are the bad guys, and then you have now the French that are just like on this planet trying to battle it out with each other.
That to me like added to the whole like World War II European feel. Like everything, the bunkers, using the mirror, the way
helmets,
Tom Hanks does in Saving Private Ryan, like the helmets, like it was very Saving Private Ryan World War II war movie in Star Wars, and I don't know if that was deliberate, but it sure felt like it. The haze in the horizon, just the tanks rolling by, everything about it, and then you add the accents. It's like this is right out of a World War II war movie.
Yeah, the haze worked well because we know that this is kind of a war-torn environment, but the haze also works great in the volume.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
They get away with a lot of haze in there. The French thing, I was like trying to make more connections to them being French this morning, and so I googled parkour. Parkour started in France.
So she's doing flips because she's
so
French.
I was like, that is why there is a little element sprinkled in of parkour, and I love that.
That is pretty good. You just see like her like beating one of the Hattons to death with a baguette.
Yeah.
Why not?
The one thing I did notice too about the houses, because they're all the same and they go in the house and it looks very much like Fern and Farah's house, the one that they choose to go into. The mural is there. It's like rundown mural. And I was like, again, with this mural, it's like everywhere. I can't wait to find out like what the story is behind this whole kind of establishment of whatever these colonies, planets are, because that clearly is the key of what this like they're doing like a memorial tribute to. I was interested to see if that was just at Attin or that was all of them, and it looks like it was all of them. But that also, bigger question, who's the statue?
Yeah, and it's been a long time because like Neil points out that tree's been growing through the floor. Clearly this has been generations of the Troik, that her dad's been a part of this. So
SM33 mentioned having to sneak past the Warriors last time they were here.
Yes, yeah.
So that part, I wasn't sure if he thought he was on at Attin seeing Warriors or if he was literally talking about that place, because he kept blipping back and forth between almost like his memories of at Attin and this. But I think you're right. Like clearly, when they were there, this was probably just as bad at that time, and maybe that's like drawing us closer to the current timeline, because I didn't know if like their ship crashed 1,000 years ago or Hu Yang knew them, like how long that was. Like, so whatever, like it doesn't seem like that ship has been at Attin terribly long.
Yeah. I think StarWars.com, when they put out the gallery stuff for this episode, it said decades for like how long at Akron had been torn up like this.
Okay. Yeah. So that makes sense.
A while.
Do you think all the other crown jewel planets are torn up like this, and Attin's the only one that survived?
Sounds like it.
That's what Kim said, that they were all lost or destroyed. I think she said they were destroyed.
They said destroyed, yeah.
But
she
maybe
did say that? She said they were destroyed?
So, but like, maybe like not like Alderaan destroyed, but just something bad happened to them. And
like Ad Akron's not completely destroyed. There are people living there still. So I wonder what the other planets are dealing with and what they're looking like.
Yeah.
Weird.
I don't know. This was definitely Neil's episode, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I think my takeaway with him was he's definitely braver, but it's not an organic bravery. I think his compassion and his love for his friends is beating his fear of harm. Like, because he passed out from fear after doing what he just did to SM33. He wasn't like, yeah, I got him, I did it, guys. He just like,
I love that
steps.
so much.
yeah.
Just
So,
making like,
because I don't want him to like do this full flip where in 30 years we're watching episode 10 with Rey and there's like 35-year-old Neill like buff and all Jedi. Like I want Neill to still be.
He has a scar across his eye.
I still
Yeah.
need him to be pure and naive to an extent. Like I just hope they don't make him this super little warrior. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so I'd like to think that he's acting selflessly as he always has since we met him, saying like you're gonna do great on your test, buddy, and stuff like that. Like he's the best friend possible because growing up, all my friends, all we would do is bust each other's chops. Like it was never like, hey dude, you're gonna ace that test. It's like, dude, you are so screwed on that next test. So he's the nicest kid in the world, and I can't help but think that what he's doing is going beyond his natural threshold. It's his compassion and his love that's driving him to do these things that he still is fully aware he's completely terrified of doing.
Well, that's the Game of Thrones quote, is that being brave is not being unafraid. It's being afraid and doing the scary thing anyway.
Was
So,
season 8?
Yeah. Oh, wait, what?
Was that season 8?
That was episode 1.
Oh, okay. Good. That was my favorite. I love Ned Stark. So who's your guys' favorite character halfway through the series right now? And is it the same person you thought it would be going in?
Neill and yes.
Yeah, I can't get over Neill. I really like Jod as a character, but there's still so much mystery surrounding him that I'm not quite as in love with him as I am with Neill.
Nice. I've soured on SM33 a little just because of what's really going on in there.
Him trying to murder children. Yeah, I sour on him too.
I was
That'll do it.
Yeah, I was likening him to like K2SO, who I'm sure has done his deeds when he was programmed by the Empire, but like seeing that he's gonna tear people limb from limb and stuff like that, I was like, oof, I didn't expect that from SM33. Jod's my favorite right now, but
I was gonna say Jod's my favorite too. He's just so funny. He's
Jude
so
Law's
funny.
ridiculously charismatic. And
He's
I
so
know.
charming. A lot of his acting in this show specifically has been so subtle
Yes.
at times.
I just got a napkin head ornament, Mr. Napkin Head.
Oh my
from-
god! You know what? It
from the
reminds
holiday.
me so much. I cannot wait to rewatch The Holiday this year. I watch it every year. But
Me
it
too.
reminds me so much of his character in that, because halfway or wherever in the movie you find out he has girls. He has little girls.
Yeah,
And he's so adorable with them.
he's a napkin head, Mr. Napkin Head.
Yeah.
Honestly,
He's
that movie, I was enjoying it fine. I was like, this is a fun rom-com until that scene when she goes to visit him at home and you're like, oh no, he's married. And then you're like, oh no, it's way worse.
Oh,
Like
no.
he's a widower and he has 2 adorable children and like
Yeah.
he was just trying to protect them.
He's like, I have a cow, and you're like, I'll take your cow. What? That and Jack Black in the movie store is just like 2 perfect scenes in that movie.
He
Yeah.
just seems like sometimes there's just like no brainer for castings and stuff, and it's like like Donald Glover as Lando, like
Mhm.
Mhm.
perfect, and it's like he just seemingly swoops right in and fits right into Star Wars, and he's not like doing not Jude Law things. He's being very Jude Law, like in the pocket Jude Law character, just in the environment of Star Wars, and it's just been such a fun adventure to go on, and like him being the stalwart like adult lead here, I think is just lending a lot of credence to the story that they're trying to weave.
He plays off the kids so well. Like that in
Yeah.
itself is a very specific quality of a person to be able to like play off children like that. And just the moment of like, I go back to it. Are you sure you don't want some of our best sides? He's like, let me see him. Let me see it. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. And they're all like, what? Just kidding.
How many hides did you say?
Yeah.
Alex, you mentioned that he was filming something. Was it Peter Pan?
Yeah, he was in a Peter Pan movie where he played Captain Hook, and it was directed by
Oh,
David
that's right.
Lowery. They talked about this all in one of
Yes.
their behind the scenes videos, where David Lowery was like, "Yeah, I just did a pirate movie with Jude Law and a bunch of kids, so this felt like an easy shift."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jude Law and a bunch of kids pirates. Yeah. That's
And he's
so
a Star
funny.
Wars fan. You know, like he knows his stuff.
Mhm.
And he loves, and the fact that he loves being involved in it always is a win in my book. For
Yeah.
someone who's such a big star. So I think he's been as expected. Like he's been just been so good, and I'm hoping, you know, his story plays out the way I want it to, which is him being a good dude to the
Do you
kids.
want him? Do you guys want him to continue being a pirate after the end of the show, or do you want him to do something else?
I don't want him to continue to be a pirate. I want, because he like, and I don't know if he's lying or not, but anytime he talks about his past, it sounds like similar to what the kids feel. And he's like, I'm alone too. Like anytime he's at that heightened level, he seems to blurt out some of his deep truths. He's like, I'm alone too, and I don't know what I'm doing. And it's like, that's the truth, right?
Yeah.
there. And when he stepped off the ship, he said, "This looks a lot like my home planet." So like, is he from one of the other crown jewel planets? Like, we don't know. Like, he probably has he probably sees a lot of himself in the kids. Maybe.
Mhm.
This might be a lame answer, but I kind of want him to have the Jack Sparrow ending of Black Pearl where he gets on the ship with all the people and he's like, okay, let's go.
That's such a good ending.
I do
I
too.
know. I know. And like, I want his crew to be back to be like, okay, Silvo. And he's like, let's do this. He puts the helmet back on or something.
Yeah,
that.
I was thinking that too. Like, I don't know if I want him to be a pirate again, but like, I want to see him live a good pirate life with
Okay,
his pirate
yeah.
buddies. You know.
I mean, I don't think he should buddy up with all of the old pirates who
No.
are actively hunting them now, but if he
Maybe
got
they
a new
were
crew.
friends for a really long time and they just need to make up. I don't know.
Hey, the bravest thing is to just make peace with one another.
Yeah. Listen to Neil.
It's very simple philosophy. So he, like, my last thing on Jod is like he had the alias Crimson Jack, and he's well known as that because clearly the New Republic is aware of him and they're working with Kim, and she's tipping him off. So he's well known as that name. And then he's this masked character, Captain Silvo. So it's like, what did this dude do as Crimson Jack to take on a new identity, mask himself to hide that from the rest of the galaxy? And it makes me think, I think I brought this up last week, but it makes me think that Jod is actually his real name. And it's like, those other names he has are more dangerous to him than what his actual name was from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Makes
I am
sense.
curious if that is his name or not. I think he's just got like a handful of aliases that he's been using along the way, and once he gets into enough trouble under one alias, he's got to swap to something else.
Yeah,
I don't think it's his name. I think it's just the latest in a long line of he just pulled something.
that kills me if that's the case, because then it's almost like they never really knew him.
The only thing
Maybe
that
they
makes
eventually will.
yeah, the only thing that makes me think maybe this isn't his real name, and this is a real shot in the dark, but the fact that there's two Nas in his name, it makes me think of like kids teasing each other going na 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 na. And I'm like, why is there two? Yeah, why is there two Nas in his name?
Or he's making up a name and he's like, Jod Nawood. Yep,
Yeah.
that's me.
He just stuttered.
Like Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah.
And they're like, wow, what a normal name.
I
Thank you.
I hope like, if that's not his name, I hope they do find out what his name is at the end. Like,
Yeah.
I always make references to other movies and stuff, but have you guys seen Almost Famous?
Mm-hmm.
So no one knows Penny Lane's name, and then at the end she's like, my real name's Lady Goodman, and only he knew it. and he didn't tell anybody else that she told it to him. But it just proved that their connection was different. So I think that if that's not his name, the kids have to learn it, and only they learn it, and no one else knows what it is. And it's just like we'll always have that.
like that.
We'll meet again in an adventure, you know, on the other side of the galaxy one day. I just hope that this show ultimately has a nice, happily ever after safe landing.
And he's like, you tell anyone my real name, and I'll find you and I'll kill you.
Oh my god. He goes full Liam Neeson on him.
Limb from limb.
Limb from limb.
We'll get Alex's Irish music going, start doing Liam Neeson lines.
Yeah.
All right, so Molly, you speculated a little bit, but different writer next week. What do you guys think to close out the show here? What do you guys think's happening next week on is it coming out on Christmas or Christmas Eve, right?
Christmas Eve.
Yeah, so what's going on Christmas Eve on Skeleton Crew next week?
I feel like that should have been like Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve would have been a good time to put something like really fun and whimsical on this show. So it could be that. I was kind of speculating that we would swap to a little more of the parents' story back on Attin, but maybe we still get a storyline from the kids. Maybe KB gets a little bit more to do and she's trying to fix SM-33, something like that.
I think this will be the episode where it's actually all about Mando and Grogu, and they're going to go see the holiday special on ice. And then we'll get back to the kids in episode 6. I think they'll probably take 33's head, or hope maybe his whole body. Now they have to get him out of the fallen sanctum.
Alex has a decapitation fetish. We just have to get that.
Well, I don't know how they're going to drag him all the way from up there back to the ship. I hope they get all of SM-33 back, but I think that their next step will be to either go to another one of the jewels or just find someone that can turn SM on without him ripping them apart so they can get the coordinates.
Yeah, it would make sense if they went to one of the other planets to see if that one had a tower and maybe the coordinates weren't destroyed on that tower.
So we were joking earlier today that this would have solved a lot in episode 3 if they just knew, hey, C-3PO, override memory. You can speak Sith now.
Yeah.
But then we don't get Babu Frick.
Yeah.
Then,
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that that's only something that works on very old droids.
I like it.
Droid is
Headcanon.
ready.
Works for me. Lacey, I know we have Lacey. You haven't said? What are we doing in the next episode? What's happening?
I think we're probably going to that hotel casino on top of the waterfalls planet, which is then a sync up with the pirates that brings them back, because we see Urkel standing on the flight pad with the X-wings over him.
His name's Jaleel. Thank you.
I know, but
Gunther, please.
I know, but I think of him as
Stefan.
Urkel.
I bet he-
Stefan.
I bet he answers to Urkel. Come on.
Yeah. That's meant with love, by the way.
He's getting those
He's standing
royalties.
on
Yeah.
what?
He's getting royalties for sure.
It's true. And also he was the one that was like, yeah, Skeleton Crew's coming out in the fall.
Yeah.
Back in what, 2020?
That was at like a hockey game
or
or a
3.
basketball game or something.
Oh yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm in the
that's
Star Wars
right.
project. It's coming
He's
out.
like, I think it comes
That
out in
was big
November.
news.
Anyway.
Anyway, can I have a popcorn? Sir, do you want something? Is a concession stand. Yes. So I think we're going to that planet and the X-Wings show up, and I would really love it if Carson Teva showed up. I would love it. It would be my Christmas present if he showed up, because I love him.
What if Neil goes back to at Octoon Baby? What was it called?
Akron.
Akron, and accidentally blows Carson Teva out of the sky with that cannon.
Why
He's like,
would
you know what?
First of all, he's never
give that
gonna-
a shot.
Absolutely not. Carson Teva is like the John Ratzenberger of Star Wars right now. Like, he's not going anywhere, and John brings him into everything because he is like the thread of awesomeness.
No, I only
You
say
don't
that
blow
'cause-
up that Rancor jacket.
is-
What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
He is
No,
a
no,
walking exposition machine.
Yeah,
He will
yeah,
come
yeah.
in and connect all the dots.
Do you have family on Alderaan?
Like he is the guy. No, but I do think that would be a great time for him to show up, and then the pirates kind of show up, and then it pushes us into the final. What is it? 3 episodes? Yeah, 3 episodes. Because you have to have that moment that everyone goes, "Oh my god, where do we go from here?" And then it has to kind of go up and then come back down.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's him going somewhere to get help from someone. I don't think that planet is also an at something, unless maybe it is. They bring up a couple planets, right? They bring up at Akron, at Attin,
Oh, like 6 all 6 of them or
Arisia,
whatever.
right? At
Arisia,
Arisia.
A Raven, and a Coda.
Maybe they go to Arisia next, which is like, and then one of them has to be that crab planet where they do the stop motion with the big crab.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I hope you're right with the pirates.
Yeah.
I would
we
like
need that. We need that turn. If the kids are going to find out like that Jod was a pirate and totally screwed over his previous team, I think that the next one would be a good one for that.
I think that's a good call. Yeah.
Because in the trailer, they have Jude Law's Jod yelling like he's coming, and they cut it up against that shot of the X-Wings. Now they could be lying. It could be just a trailer cut. I understand that. But the background seems like that location, and they're all running over by the waterfalls and stuff, which would mean that they're running from something, running from the pirates. It could be something like you guys are saying, where they're like, he's the bad guy. The guy you're with is the bad guy. And he's just like, you need to trust me right now. Like, trust me. Because he's been pushing that a lot with them. So I think there has to be more doubt thrown on him to make it more complicated than them just doing whatever he says.
Oh,
Yeah.
did we see it like a junk planet in the trailers, or like
we did? I think that's the crab one.
Because I was like, maybe they need to go to a junk planet or somewhere where that with old parts for SM-33 if they have to repair
Interesting
him.
thought.
Oh, I like that. The director of the next episode, Jake Schreier, 2 movies he did previously was a science fiction comedy, which was more of like a one-on-one, like a human and like a robot android, and then the other one was like a romantic comedy. So I'm wondering, like I think you mentioned before, Molly, you know, Christmas Eve. I wonder if maybe there is going to be more of a lighter, fun presentation with this episode, which doesn't mean stakes don't have to be high or, you know, big things happen, but it could be more of the swashbuckling style. And also, I miss that pirate music that Mick Giacchino's cooked up. We got to get that back in the mix.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we do see those pirates again and chaos ensues. But Lacey, before we get out of here, I know there were a couple other super chats. We got to get to those and get them on screen.
Yes. I will kick it off with Stephen. Thank you so much, Stephen, who said, want to send everyone a happy holidays, enjoy time with family and friends. I'm very much enjoying Skeleton Crew.
Thanks,
We are
buddy.
as well. Thanks so
Appreciate
much.
it, man.
We have Cece, who says, I like turtles, 10 out of 10 for Jod's open chest pirate top. It looks amazing on him. Dude can rock a pirate top. That is not easy to do, as we see in Seinfeld. Not easy. Ben Davis, thank you so much for the super chat. He said, my 2 favorite Star Wars shows collaborating. Yes. Virtual high five. We're here having a good time. And last but not least, we have Diana. Thank you so much. Said, hey, TRB fam. Just wanted to pop in and say happy holidays. And Skeleton Crew is killing it. We agree.
Happy holidays, Diana. Thank you.
We agree. And that is it.
All right. Let's get out of here. Let's close up the base here.
Okay.
Anything else you guys wanted to throw out there before we skedaddle?
I don't think so.
No, got nothing to just happy holidays, everyone.
I know. I'm ready to just like plop down and enjoy the next 2 over Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah.
Yes, me too.
So I want to apologize. I've been a little distracted for about a minute and a half. It's because I was looking up the image of the kids in that treasure room, and SM-33 is on his body.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to make sure.
Sorry, Alex.
That's fine.
No.
Fine, we'll cut off someone else's head.
No. They could still cut off his head. I was just curious if they took him all the way to the treasure room, but they could take off his head, get there, and then fix him and put the head back on.
Yep.
But I was just curious if his head was still on at that point, which in that shot, by the way, Jod is very kind of creepily standing in the background. So that's
Is
interesting.
it
but
creepily, or is he just standing in the background?
He's like shadowed. It's a lighting choice. Like he's very like they're all lit and he's in the back kind of shadowed behind
He's-
all of them.
He's checking his corners and yeah, he's checking out the room, seeing what he can take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's way in the back there.
And he's like, the way he's standing too, he's like got his head up, like he's like not fully trustworthy. I don't know. Little sketch.
The only thing that will crater the show for me is if he goes full bad and turns on these kids, because I just.
Well, didn't they showed in one of the recent trailers that there are some traps along the way to maybe
Booby
that
traps,
treasure room.
yeah.
So maybe he's
those
like
lasers. Yeah.
maybe he's looking for more booby traps. And he's
Mhm.
like
Like a little
nobody
Indiana
move.
Jones episode.
Ooh.
I like that.
I'm excited for that.
I am too. All right. Well, we want to thank everybody for joining us, whether you joined us live on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe to TRB. But also, of course, Star Wars Explained. Alex and Mollie, let people know where they can hit you up and what you got going on the channel, on the feeds, and all that stuff.
We're on YouTube as well. We're doing our Skeleton Crew after shows. That's the main thing we're doing right now. Talking Skeleton Crew and getting through the holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can check us out on YouTube, all the social media, Star Wars Explain. We're starting to do watch-alongs on our Patreon, which is fun. They're like fully synced up, so you can just 3, 2, 1 hit play on Disney
Nice.
Plus and watch the episodes with us, which has been fun.
And you don't have to wake up at 3 a.m.
Yes.
Remember that?
Oh,
Very
my God.
nice.
Do you,
Yeah, I
do
do.
you remember
Do you
that?
remember that?
We never I don't think we
never
ever
did
really
3.
did the
We'd
3
get up
a.m.
at like 6.
I think
Yeah.
that's what we did too.
I did the 3. The first season of Mando, I was getting up at 3.
Oh, that's right. You were
Mm-hmm.
pre-kids. Yeah,
I didn't have kids. I was a different
Yeah.
person
Going
then.
for
It was
it,
5
yeah.
years ago.
I was a different person then.
Yeah. Anyway.
I would never.
Yeah, follow us on social media, TRB Podcasts and the Resistance Broadcast on your podcast feeds. And also Nerdy and Nice, our pop culture show. We're going to be talking all about Superman on Monday. I'm so excited. Are you guys into Superman? Are you into this? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm casually interested in it.
I've
The
been
new movie
liking
looks
hearing people
good.
Say that. Yeah. Yeah.
We got a friend who worked on it, so I'm
Oh,
excited
cool.
about it.
Very nice.
That's awesome.
Very nice. Do I know this friend by any chance?
I think so.
Oh. All right.
Oh yeah, he told us some stuff about it too.
What? Get out of here. I don't want to hear any spoilers.
He said there's a man that flies in it.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Will I believe it if I see it?
don't know.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Lacey, where can people find you on social media?
Well, first of all, before we get to that,
Aaron?
if you're interested, we have cool merch at trbpodcast.com.
Yes.
Head over there for Galactic Goonies merch, Nerdy and Nice merch, TRB merch, which, by the way, I got the hat in the mail,
And you're
and it's-
driving my stuff over to me this weekend, right?
and it's awesome. It's like embroidered. Like, I know I'm pushing my own merch, but like, it's legit. It definitely caught me off guard. And then next week, we're going to be joined by Jenmarie from Anakin and His Angel, one of the oldest Star Wars blogs on the interwebs. She's always lovely. And I know she saw a bunch of Skeleton Crew stuff at their fan event and then also at D23. So it's interesting to see what she's seen. And then we'll talk about it as well. And then me, you can find me on social media at Lacey Gillerin, on TikTok at It's Lacey Gillerin. And then on our channels as well, because we're doing reactions. And John did the first 3 because I was sick. So the next 3 are all mine. So get ready to see my face.
Posting through the holidays. No reactions from me except Superman. But yeah, so our episode with Jenmarie about episode 5 will be live next Friday because of Christmas. So it'll be on 12/27 Friday night. Pour a glass of wine. Let's have a good time. But Alex and Mollie, thank you so much for joining us. I know you guys were coming out of probably a 2-hour stream yourselves, so you're probably Star Wars'd out. But the hour plus flew by as always. It was great hanging with you guys, and look forward to hanging in Japan.
Oh yeah,
Ooh,
always
yeah.
a pleasure. Can't wait for Japan.
This
So
was
excited.
a really fun episode to talk about. So I'm not tired of it just yet.
All right, and you feel better, Mollie.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, that's it for us. We'll see you next week. Nerds, we'll see you Monday and Nerdy and Nice. Enjoy the Superman trailer tomorrow. Enjoy Skeleton Crew. Enjoy your weekends, and we'll see you next time right here on the Resistance Broadcast. See you around, kids.